I thought he was very, very smart. He looked like a little boy.
Oh, he's really young to be the preacher.
He was little. He was little. I remember seeing him stand up there at the podium and thinking, that's a little guy.
And I remember he asked what time to be here, and he said he would get here early. And I don't remember who said it, but maybe it was Brian. It was Brian. Told him if he got here early, he better bring a key.
Pretentious.
No, I didn't know what to think of David. He picked me up from the airport with his little sunglasses on, and he was just so quiet, Mr. Cool Guy. I didn't know what to think of him.
I forgot about that. Yeah, not pretentious. He did have the tiny little sunglasses.
Maybe still pretentious.
Pretentious. They're very 90s sunglasses. It was really funny.
He looked like the guy from Blue's Clues.
My first impression of David was when he came to the hospital when Addison was born. It's like he says it's one of the first things that he did kind of as his role as being the preacher here.
And we were new too, so that was really nice that he came. That really did mean a lot.
Yeah.
Well, he was smart.
He looked like he was 12 years old, literally. I thought, what are we doing? He came with a 4-year-old and a baby in a bucket, which was Sam, but literally to me, he looked like he was 12 years old.
He was young. That's what I thought. I don't know.
I don't know. He was a child prodigy, and I thought that he preached a really good sermon the first time he was here, and then I met him a little bit afterwards, and I don't know.
Yes, and I thought it was really nice. He visited Thomas and Lisa after Addison was born, right after.
I think it's the week he started or something.
Yeah, so I thought it was really nice of him to do that.
Pretty impressed with that.
I found Rachel to be really just warm and emanating such brilliance. It was hard to, not just be drawn into her and the family.
Pale and skinny.
So the first time I saw David was during freshman orientation at Oklahoma Christian. And we were in the same little orientation group. And I walked into the library where we were supposed to meet. And he was laying down on the floor with his head propped up on the wall, just chill. And I knew he was comfortable, I knew he was cool, and I knew I wanted to get to know him. So I did.
I remember he didn't know that he had to teach class. And so when he found out, he only had, a few hours. And I haven't known a lot of preachers who were also excellent class teachers. But he jumped right in, and that was probably the most impressive thing. And so he started off on a good foot with me.
I thought he was mature beyond what he looked like age-wise.
Thrilled. Nobody had a boy in the family, and we were super excited.
Handsome.
Oh, is this the first word that comes to my mind or his mind?
Okay, I know he would want us to say the first word is handsome. Okay, but that's not it.
Not the first word.
That's not the first word. No, I don't know.
Maybe not the second.
Sarcastic. Sarcasm.
Sarcasm.
A smart aleck.
Probably smart aleck.
I wanted to say smart, but I don't want to feed his ego.
That's
I'll
good.
stick with smart.
Blue's Clues?
Thoughtful. Intelligent.
Not the Drew.
Sure, he never was a kid. He's always an adult. Even as a kid, he acted like an adult.
That's true. That's true. His sisters would not agree with that at all.
He's a great teacher.
He is. I love his
Wonderful
lessons.
teacher.
Love his sermons.
Everybody says that.
Yes, I agree.
Very real. He's very real. He's a real person. He's the same whether he's hanging out with you or preaching. He's the same person.
I will say confident. He has a lot of confidence.
First word that comes to mind is probably snarky, but also teacher. He explains things particularly about spirituality and our faith in a way that is fresh every time. And I love that about him. I love that about his teaching.
Saint. That's my word for her.
Yes.
I believe she's a saint.
I can't think of one word, so I'll say 3. Gives her all. Does everything. There's 2. I've got you down to 2. Does everything. Awesome. There you go.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1, go.
Long suffering.
Oh, she's so sweet. So sweet.
Sweet.
She's a keeper. That's what I told David the first time I ever met her. I said, she's a keeper.
She's a saint for putting up with David.
Mine was about the same. I was thinking extra stars in her crown.
Loving.
Loving. Patient. Brilliant.
Clearly patient.
Aww.
Sweetest person I've ever met.
Kind.
Patient.
Loving.
Yeah.
I don't know, everything good. Rachel's so nice.
She is a perfect
And someone who's kind.
She is kind. Hospitable.
She puts up with a lot from David sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Just the cross she bears.
Caring.
Grace, because she has just an amazing ability to care, but also to be effective, and she just gives herself with grace, always.
Well, she's my heart sister, so there's a lot of good words that come to mind. I think she's wise and compassionate and such a fantastic mother. I just can't even begin to describe my thoughts on her as a mom and how I enjoy watching her working with her children.
Challenging me to be a better person, and that's through David's message, through his ability to convict is disgusting. Like, it's, and it happens so often, and then the same answer for Rachel, just in the way she lives her life, because she's that example, and that is a huge lesson for me.
I think that they both make everybody feel welcome. He greets everyone with he makes you want to come back. He greets everyone with a hug. I enjoy leaving the church because I know I'm going to get a hug. I enjoy coming in because I know I'm going to get a hug. And I think Rachel always has something to do with the ladies. So she makes sure all the ladies get together and we all kind of bond.
I think they've had a very unifying
property that they brought to our church and bring in some new ideas and some fresh new ideas from a younger set of mindset. And I think that's something we really needed at the time.
David is a student of God's Word, and it shows in his preaching and his teaching. And then Rachel bringing the counseling part. I mean, I can't think of another team, husband and wife in ministry, that is as strong from a vocational standpoint as those two.
Really like how David preaches from the Bible. He uses the Bible within everything. It's not conceptual. It is what's right there. It's in front of you. It's in the Bible. Here's what's going on. And I love that no nonsense delivery. Does he joke with us? Absolutely. Does he say we can disagree with him but we'd be wrong? All the time. He actually said it today. But I love the way that he preaches the word.
I think practically they have set the stage for us to be able to minister better to families with special needs, kids with special needs. I think that they set the tone for that in a way that we really need. And I think that really benefits our church, that we are able to be caring to the people that normally don't have people care for them.
Yeah, I guess just to add to that, the transparency that they have within their family and to the church is impactful.
Yeah,
is what I see.
Being open, being vulnerable.
I think they've brought in people who have come maybe to see who we're all about. They've come to visit, and they hear David, and they meet Rachel, and it's just there's such the in a lot of ways the center of our family, our church family, and I think people stay because of the good teaching and the preaching, and also the heart that they see in both of them. So
David does a really uniquely awesome job ministering, leading, pastoring a multicultural church. And that's harder than it sounds.
He always has an application for what he is teaching. And so it's not just, here's what Scripture says, and here's what you need to think about it, or what you need to believe. But he gives very practical steps towards how we can apply that in our lives, both in the Christian community and outside in our week-to-week, day-to-day. And I think that is... you don't find that everywhere.
I think authenticity is really important. David's the same person when he's teaching Bible class or preaching as he is when you're just hanging out. And I think that's kind of unique.
David does have a great way of taking complex issues and conversations and infusing humor and explaining it in a way that anybody could understand. So that I truly appreciate.
I agree. I find their approach and their ministry very inclusive and empowering.
How she handles her kids. I mean, it's...
That's what I was going to say. I mean, I'm sure David gives her credit for it, but just as someone outside the family, I know all that she does.
Making everyone feel comfortable.
She's a good cook.
She's a good cook.
She's a very good cook. She's made us many a meal. Maybe that's something she should get more credit for.
I know she gets a lot of credit for being a mom and raising her kids, but I sometimes don't think that she gets enough credit for that. That's a really tough job.
The patience.
And it always impresses me, both of them really, I'll say both of them. It always impresses me with the way that they act.
Yeah. Taking care of Luke, I think she just handles it so well, but she does so much, and just I just commend her, and I'm so amazed by her all the time.
Same thing. I think people recognize that she does a lot with that, but I don't think people recognize how much she does with that.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is teaching the ladies on Wednesday night. She's just started this series where she's pulling together all the resources for that. She's not using a book. And she's just, teaching us and leading our devotions on Wednesday night. And she's doing an amazing job at that. So that's probably one area I would think that maybe she doesn't get enough credit or a lot of credit.
That's a good one. And her counseling work.
Yes.
Oh, that's private for good reason.
Yeah.
But there's some really awesome work that goes on there.
I think that she does a great job being aware of lots of things going on in people's lives and quietly attending to people that are in need and taking care of people that are in need. And I don't think she gets enough credit for that, because she's always doing that and always checking in on people, and it means a lot to those of us who have received it.
She's married to David.
Her patience with David's vanity.
Living with David.
Living with David.
And of course she has to deal with David. So
Yeah.
double stars in her crown.
Yeah.
Mine's always kidding him about Steve wanting to come and spend the night with me by himself. Luke just goes absolutely nuts over that. So he and I play back and forth, especially when Steve comes.
It's when David told him, "Son, you need to make better choices." And Sam said, "But Dad, when I make better choices, I don't get what I want."
It's probably not my favorite, but it's the one that's coming to mind is when we first got here, we had trunk or treat. And Sam was about 4 or 5 months old. And I bought him a pumpkin costume. But that kid was so long, everybody thought he was a carrot for Halloween instead of a pumpkin. I just remember that. And so, my little carrot.
My favorite story of, it was Sam's first birthday, because that's the only party I ever attended that the cops got called on.
One time when we were watching the kids at small group, we're outside and Luke picked up somebody's phone that didn't have it locked and called 911 and said, "There's a fire." And I had to grab the phone and try to call him off.
My favorite Luke story, Rachel and I were on our way back from Texas, and he was playing a game, and for hours he kept playing a game going, "Get in my belly, get in my belly, you get in my belly." And then Rachel kept saying, "Luke, you gotta be quiet, you gotta quiet down." And he'd go, "Get in my belly."
Probably one of my favorite stories about Sam and Luke, probably involves both of them, is whenever Luke is in the shower and Sam likes to throw a glass of cold water on his brother to get a reaction out of him. That's probably one of my favorite stories that involves both of them. One of my favorite is when he went to get his latest new car, and he was looking at it with the sales lady, and they got to talking about the trunk, and she goes, "Isn't that a large trunk?" And he goes, "Yeah, it would fit." She goes, or he said, "Wow, that's a large trunk." And she said, "You could put some bodies in it." And he said, "A lot if it was children."
And so Tommy helped me the next Sunday that he got his car, helped me load up his trunk with kids and take pictures. I don't know. I thought that was pretty funny.
My favorite David story is when he was little and I had him in church, by myself, all three of them little together. David had a little plastic bag that had Mickey Mouse and stuff on it, but it was clear. He had those little toys in it. He put that bag over his head in church like a hat, and he was looking around. And then he took the handles and pulled it down over his face. Well, he was smothering. He couldn't breathe. You could see his face like it was smushed up against the window. And I tried to pull that hat off, and I couldn't get it off. Steve's preaching, and I'm back there with David doing aerobic stuff to try to get that hat off. I couldn't believe it. We thought we'd never get that. We had to cut it. Or we thought we were going to have to cut it.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's turned around watching David and not listening to the sermon at all.
Yep.
Well, just watching him react to the three elders and all their different personalities, and he's got a way of imitating them, but I can't tell y'all from up here.
David, it's funny because David says that he hates conflict and he doesn't want to be, like, he says it all the time. But David and I argue all the time. That people don't know that. David and I have difference of opinions on things. And we argue. Good fun, good natured. But he does not dislike conflict. He likes conflict. He says that he says that he doesn't. And so that's...
It's confrontation.
He doesn't like confrontation. But he certainly likes conflict.
Where's the story?
The story is just him and I argue.
I don't know. There's so many times we laugh so hard together. Like, I love the summertime when I get to work with Lucas and David, and we just laugh all the time. Like, we talk about serious things and we make plans and we do all the things, but we just laugh a lot. Like, I don't know. He's a kindred spirit, and so I just really enjoy just being around him.
I don't really have a particular story. I mean, I just enjoy hanging out with them, talking football, talking football, hearing about how Oklahoma is this is gonna be their year. Every year it's gonna be their year, and then you see how it turns out.
He ends up saying, "Oh, it's stupid. It's just stupid. I'm not watching it anymore."
David has this theory that there's a nice one and a mean one in every relationship. And well, he and I are both married to nice ones.
Funny.
Funny.
David is funny. That's the biggest exaggeration.
He thinks he's funny.
Yeah, he thinks he's funny.
I guess biggest exaggeration would be that David is handsome because he is funny. He says lots of funny things.
Oh. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have to stick with both.
Oh, the handsome, definitely.
David is handsome.
He is kind of funny.
He is funny.
Looking.
Funny.
David is handsome.
Funny.
I think it's interesting that David tells us weekly how handsome he is. So I think he's trying to convince himself that he's really handsome.
Ooh.
Funny. Do you think David's funny?
I think David can tell a good joke every once in a while. I'll give him that. As someone who is funny, I know what funny's like. And so I think David can tell a good joke every once in a while.
Do you think you're funnier than David?
I know that I am funnier than David. I know that for a fact.
Would David agree?
If he knew what was good, if he knew, he would. Probably the handsome.
Probably both. I don't know. It's like he thinks he's both all the time. So anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's.
We can't choose.
I would go with that answer.
Yeah.
Well, one of the main reasons I married him is because he's funny. So I don't know. I think he's very handsome. I married him. So both of those are true to me.
I've heard that story about the lady on the airplane getting the phone, like giving him his phone number 5 million times. I just think it's a little much. So much. You're the Blue's Clues guy. I mean, not horrible looking, but
Apparently in Oklahoma they have different definitions of handsome and funny. But I guess the biggest exaggeration would be the handsome one.
I concur.
Funny. He's really not that funny. He tries to be. He tries. And I think it's the failure of being funny that's the funny part.
Rachel.
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 Yeah.
Oh, obvious.
Rachel.
Well, Rachel, obviously.
I would take Rachel.
Rachel.
That's not a serious question.
Rachel. It's Rachel.
It is probably Rachel.
But I love David too.
Rachel. But David would admit that. He would say, son, you're always taking Rachel. And I say yes.
If we could choose only one, could we choose half of each?
If I could only choose one. Oh, they're a pair, so you can only choose one pair, so I choose them both.
No.
I can't glue them together. I'm trying to glue them together. You're going to cut all this, right? You're cutting this.
Sure.
Okay. If I had to choose one, who would I choose? I will say Rachel.
David, because I like to be sarcastic with him.
But we still love you, David.
Yeah.
Number next.
Number next.
If you only listen to one thing that I say today.
If you hear me say one thing, put your phones down and hear this. And he straightens his papers. And then he says his important one thing.
If you're only going to hear one thing today.
And he said that
That's
today.
A good one.
Yes,
That's a good one.
that's a good one. But it makes you, listen in. So that's a good one.
You can argue with me or you can disagree with me, but you'd be wrong.
Talks a mile a minute. He talks too fast. I would just say, David, you talk too fast. You never do slow down. You sound like one of those recordings on the radio.
Yes, I do, actually.
Go ahead.
Right? I know.
When he preaches, sometimes he gets way up here. What are we doing? He goes like that sometimes, and he gets up on this. Don't we know what's right? He kind of does that. So that's my best impression. It's not very good, but that's another thing.
Am I right? Am I right?
So how do we do that? How do we do that?
We like you, David. We actually really do.